Hey everybody, welcome back into The Spread, NESN.com's Football Picks podcast. I am one of your hosts, one of three, actually, guiding this ship that we call The Spread, correct. I'm NESN.com's Mike Cole, joined, as always, by Ricky Doyle and Andre Kachaturian, also of NESN.com fame. Fellas, how are we?
I'm doing great.
Doing great. We should identify our voices right now, right?
Hey, we gotta do
Ricky.
This is me, Ricky.
Ricky Doyle. I'm Andre Kachaturian here. Mike Cole.
I introduced myself. I
yourself.
spoke. Yep.
You're way ahead of the curve.
You're not wearing your Wisconsin sweatshirt this week.
But they are in the NLCS now.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought that you would.
That's a good
you
point.
Would double down. Maybe you had some pants or you wear a
I want to see
jumpsuit.
if they make it to the World Series, and I'll wear it again.
All right, great.
This is about football.
Yeah, this is. I was gonna say, as is the case every week, we will make 3 against the spread picks. Each of us will make 3 against the spread picks of the 3 best games, or at least the 3 best games we could find. This week, it was a struggle into Week 6. This is not a great slate. There are a lot of good individual games across the league this season. I don't imagine there's going to be a ton of very deep weeks, and this is definitely one of them. The marquee game of the weekend, we'll get to that in a little bit, is going to be very good. The other 2, not so much. So we'll make the picks for all 3 of those games. We'll also do locks, upsets. Before we do that, we will look back because you can only know where you're going until you look where you came from or something like that.
It was a terrible
It was not
week.
good last week.
Very bad week. Ricky Doyle led the way with a 6-9 record.
Yuck.
Mike, you and I finished 5-10. And I'm still in first place. Ricky, you're a game behind me. Mike, you're 2 games behind me. All of our records are bad, but it's week 6. There's a lot more information available for us. We're going to use that information right now, and we're going to make some good picks.
Before we do that, though, I just want to go through this real quick. I told Ricky about this already. I went through and checked our records from just the spread this season. So I just want to go through those. We're kind of at the quarter pole thereabouts, maybe a little bit beyond it. We're through 5 weeks, so in the
Sure, you want to share this?
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I think I do. I think I do, Ricky.
Right, go ahead.
I can understand why Ricky might be a little apprehensive.
We hold
about
ourselves
this.
accountable here.
Yeah, full disclosure here. So
I'm nervous.
It's all about accountability.
in the games of the week, we pick 3 games every week, so we've picked 15 games so far. All 3 of us picked the same game. I'm 8-7.
Wow.
Ricky is 8-7, and you are 7-8.
Hey,
so that's not terrible.
That's not bad. I thought one of us was going to be like 3-12.
So the locks. Let's get into the locks. Andre, you're 4-1 with your locks. So when you lock it in,
you know a good lock when you see one.
I'm 2-3 with my locks, which is whatever. And Ricky is 0-4-1.
We got the free beer in the fridge ready to unlock for the first victory of the year.
And upsets?
Upsets, I am 3-2. So I'm just about 500 across the board, which tells you I have no idea what I'm talking about. It's almost better to be bad because you're like, at least this guy has an opinion. But about 500 across the board. Ricky and Andre, both of you, 1-4 with your upsets. But as I told Ricky, we pick our upsets as outright wins. Like we try to find outright wins. So your against the spread records are probably a little bit better in that regard.
It's the one we should note that is the one deviation from what we typically do, because everything else is against the spread. Hence the name.
Which is why I cheated last
wing
week and took the Detroit Lions to upset the Green Bay Packers as 1-point underdogs.
And if Mason Crosby made some.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So
surprised he's still on the team.
We'll get into that a little bit later. I think you have that as one of your locks and upsets. So, all
Spoiler!
right, let's get into it. As I said, very top heavy this week. The Sunday night game is by far the game of the week. Before we get to that game, we got to start with some crap, including
this is crap.
This is
gonna be a really good
I
game.
have deemed this the Andre Bowl because Andre comes down here every week and talks about how great these 2 teams are, despite them not being very good. Despite them not having a ton of actual success, but hey, the numbers look good, and it makes Andre feel like he sounds smart, so whatever. We got the...
He's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, exactly. Leaned over.
He's hunched over his computer.
We got the Los Angeles Chargers going east to Cleveland to take on the Browns. It's a 1 p.m. kick. The Chargers obviously going east, as I mentioned, so that's a 10 a.m. start for them, one of those old bugaboos. The Chargers currently stand as 1-point favorites according to our friends at oddshark.com, who provide us with all the lines for this week and also with a ton of good information. So go check out oddshark.com for all your sports betting needs and things like that. But as I said, Chargers 1-point favorites here against the Browns. Both teams kind of show flashes of being very good, or not very good, but talented. Maybe the Chargers are a little bit better. But both teams feisty at times. Both teams also very much capable of just throwing up all over themselves. So this could be either just the worst game of the week or highly entertaining. So Andre, I'll let you start this one.
Oh wow,
You should
awesome.
do the honors.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think they're, you look at their 2 losses. They came against 2 teams that are combined 10-0 this season, the Rams and the Chiefs. I think their defense is pretty good. Their numbers have been a little inflated because of those 2 games against the Rams and the Chiefs. And Chargers do a great job against the run. What do the Browns do? Well, they run the ball well. They run the ball more than any other team. The Chargers do a good job against the run. They've held teams under 100 yards 3 times this season. The 2 times they didn't was against the Rams.
They were bad against the run last year too, weren't
Chargers?
they? Yeah. So they've done a nice job of fixing that, if I'm not mistaken. So good for them. Good job, Chargers.
And I also think the battle in the trenches is going to be big in this one. The Browns' offensive line has allowed 21 sacks, second most in football. Chargers' offensive line has only allowed 7 sacks, second fewest in football. And look at this. Even if Phillip Rivers is pressured this year, look at this. 5 touchdowns, no picks, 64.9% completion percentage, and has only taken 6 sacks when under pressure, according to Pro Football Focus. That's amazing. Phillip Rivers is having a very good year this year. If they hadn't played the Rams and the Chiefs, 2 teams that are 10-0, Chargers might be 5-0.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder why the line's not higher then.
I agree with you. I'm also going Chargers in this one. You mentioned that Browns offensive line. I mean, they're 29th in opponent sack percentage. That's down there with the pass protection behemoths of the world, like the Cowboys, the Seahawks, and the Bills, who we know have had just a world of problems along their offensive lines. I mean, listen, the Chargers pass rush isn't what it would be if we had Joey Bosa in the mix, but they're still pretty middle of the pack in that regard. I'm not sure how good the Browns are, to be quite honest with you. I mean, Mike, you mentioned this in the picks column last week. You're like, the Browns even that good? And I don't know. I'm not sure coming out of that win over the Ravens, I'm totally sold on them yet. I mean, I think
They tried so hard to like not win that football game.
It was just, it had a
football.
Oh.
It really just, a lot of it stems from, just the Baltimore's offensive, I don't want to call it ineptitude, but just very conservative approach to that game. One thing here, it's just kind of interesting, too, is that Chargers are 3rd in the NFL, averaging 17.4 first half points per game. The Browns, meanwhile, 31st in that regard with 6.4. So I think if the Chargers get out to an early lead here, force the Browns to have to come back, got a rookie quarterback, going to make some mistakes, I think this one could get away from them really quick, even though it's in Cleveland. I like the Chargers. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. Again, I'm taking the Chargers as well, and the more I think about it, the more I listen to you two, the more convinced I am of this pick, which is never good. 64% of the bets as it stands right now are on the Chargers. Yeah, no, yeah, right. Maybe I should just fade you guys every week. These 2 teams have played recently. Cleveland's covered both of those games. That was going back, 2.5 years now. That was their lone win, that Christmas Eve win or whatever it was when they beat them in Cleveland. So that's something to keep in mind. But Ricky, I like that first half stat. I have a stat that I think is even better. So I'm going to go with Cleveland has the best turnover margin in football, right? +8, very good, impressive. Thing about Los Angeles, though, they don't give up the football. Only 3 teams have been more careful with the ball than Los Angeles, which is to say only 3 teams have fewer turnovers this season. So you add all of that up, you start figuring out, so what is that a turnover differential doing for the Browns? It's giving them, according to FootballOutsiders.com, the 5th best average starting field position in football. So they're starting the ball with like their own 32 or 33. They're working on short fields. They're getting takeaways. They go up against a team like the Chargers who don't give the football away, like I said. That makes a difference. The Chargers also have the 4th best opponent's average starting field position, so I don't think Cleveland's going to do very well with the field position battle. If they have to go long fields again against that pass rush, maybe it's not as good as it once was, or it's not as good as it can be without Bosa, but that's a tough way to live life. Also, I don't know how much I put in this, and I kind of tried to do a little bit more research, but this kind of speaks to the field position battle as well. The Chargers have the top-ranked special teams unit, according to Pro Football Focus. Cleveland is dead last, so a lot of field position here, I think. And if that's going to be the difference between a 1-point cover and not, I'll take the Chargers.
I think that was an incredible analysis.
Thank you.
It was very good. Also, you're talking about the Browns and their turnover differential. Let's not forget, most of those turnovers came in that first game against the Steelers.
Yeah, that's skewing the numbers.
Right, yeah.
That's
true.
I'm just thinking, too, if the Browns, I mean, this is a team that any success they have this year is going to be predicated on their defense. I think that's pretty safe to say. Chargers 4th in time of possession, so if they do get out to that early lead, control the clock a little bit too, kind of wear down that defense. Maybe I just feel like it's going to be very difficult for Cleveland to come back in this game if they fall in early.
Yeah, I think you even saw it too, like what the Raiders did. They were able to move the ball through the air against Cleveland. I think maybe Los Angeles, could do the same thing.
And I just think that the reason why it's only 1 point spread here is just the Browns are that sexy team right now.
The Browns have been that, but like this is my issue with the Browns.
With
my problem with the Browns is they've been that sexy team for 3 years now, where it's like
but now they're actually winning.
I guess, but all the sharps are always on the Browns, and it's just these are supposedly smart betting people, and they continue to lose money on the Browns. I just don't get it.
But I feel like there's more public.
So
money on the Browns
sure,
now.
yeah, maybe.
It surprises me that it's only 64% on the Chargers. Like
that's true. I think people are still. I wonder too. I'd like to look up the numbers at some point. How much of a difference that West Coast going east thing kind of makes a difference now? I don't think it's as important as it used to be, especially with just how much smarter we are as a people when it comes to combating jet lag and the wonders of hydration.
Humans,
we haven't figured out a lot of stuff. We have a lot of issues in a lot of areas, but maybe we figured out how to
jet lag.
Yeah, exactly. How to make football teams better when they have to travel 3 hours east. So who knows?
Although jet lag is a real thing, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's no joke.
Yeah,
I battle with it.
Imagine playing a football game with jet lag. That's tough. All right, let's get into a little AFC North football.
Yeah. This is gonna be the violent game. Vontaze perfect. Ben Roethlisberger.
We will get into some props later, including will somebody be murdered on the football field. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are going on the road in the division to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals 2.5 point favorites. This is a 1 o'clock start. Looks like right now the public is on the Bengals at about 54%, so that's pretty close to split. Weather low 50s, light rain. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
You think it's Cincinnati?
That is.
They're going to be eating the
low 50s and light rain.
Perfect.
Skyline chili by the truckfuls. It'll be good to go. This is a tricky one. I mean, these teams play close games, but Pittsburgh 8-1 in its last 9. They've won 8 of the last 9 games between these two teams. Bengals have a lot to prove here. Nice win from the Bengals last week. Screwed us all over, I think, in our picks.
Yeah.
Miami hung with them for a while, then the Bengals, a couple big plays late. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows you potential. Meanwhile, the Steelers got right last week against the Falcons, a game that we all blew, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you picked the Steelers. You said
took the Steelers out.
You don't understand how the Falcons would stop the Steelers.
So.
And you took the Bengals as well.
Okay, great. So we'll start with our AFC North expert, Ricky Doyle. Bengals 2.5 point favorites. Where are you on this one?
I'm leaning Steelers in this one. I know we talk a lot about the Steelers playmakers and obviously the weapons that they have is as explosive in offense that you can find in football at times. I think you should talk a little bit about the offensive line. I mean, you can see how much better that team is when they get the running game going, which they did last week against Atlanta. I think maybe they get that going against the Bengals. The Bengals, one area that is sort of their strength is that pass rush. I mean, they took over in that game against Miami, but Miami's offensive line is just in shambles right now. I don't think that pass rush has the same type of success this week against the Steelers' offensive line. And also, we've talked in the past, I mean, Andre's mentioned on several occasions, I think, that Ben Roethlisberger, when facing pressure, is, that's kind of his bread and butter a little bit. That's when he thrives, when he's facing pressure. So maybe they do get after it, but I just think the Steelers make enough plays in this game. And then on the flip side, if the Steelers' secondary can step up like they did against Atlanta, Joe Hayden was really exceptional against Julio Jones. Maybe he does that again this week against A.J. Green. So I like the Steelers to cover on the road.
I'm going to drop a Lee Corso not so fast on you when it comes to Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger, according to Pro Football Focus, against pressure this year, 67.8 passer rating. That's why I'm taking the Bengals. I think the Bengals will get after him. I think they find a way to generate pressure, especially at home. And if that's, if Roethlisberger's struggling with that, then I'll take my chances. I also, in terms of trends, this one's another interesting one. Again, I feel like I have to qualify this every time I mention trends. I'm not a huge fan of them, but some of them are too hard to ignore. And this one kind of fits in with a narrative that I like, that Mike Tomlin's a crappy head coach. Pittsburgh 0-8 against the spread in its last 8 games following a win. Nice job. Way to have your team ready to play 2 weeks in a row. That's not great. Vontaze Burfict back, assuming he doesn't murder somebody.
He'll be out in the first quarter.
assuming Vontaze
Might not make
Burfict-
it out of the tunnel.
Assuming he doesn't commit a crime, a felony in the first quarter. He only played 34% or 34 snaps last week. I think that was like 53%. He had 5 tackles and 34 snaps. He looks good. He's fixed their defense. So I like them to
Sorry,
cover
I
that
keep
spread.
laughing. That was a funny joke.
Thanks.
'Cause that actually
Also,
happened.
I'm big on Pro Football Focus this week. Cincinnati has like the fifth best passing attack offensively. Pittsburgh has a 28th. When was the last time that those numbers looked like that? It's
Andy
crazy.
Dalton's having a good year, but I think Andy Dalton.
I think those are a weird team to figure out this year.
Yeah, they are. But here's what Andy Dalton. We talk about under pressure stats. Mike Cole, Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, maybe he's not the greatest under pressure, but look at the Steelers lead the league in sacks right now.
Hello.
He's throwing paper airplanes over here.
Steelers lead the league in sacks. They're getting points. They have bigger weapons. They have a better pass rush than the Bengals. And Andy Dalton, when facing pressure, 48% completion percentage. When he's kept clean, 73% completion percentage. That's a 25% swing in completion percentage. And Andy Dalton's going to be facing pressure. I think he'll make some mistakes. He'll revert to the old Andy Dalton. And I just like that, Big Ben just has better weapons. We saw Antonio Brown. He has 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He's back at it. Juju Smith-Schuster.
So you're all in on the Steelers now after not being in on them at all.
I mean, I'm all in on them in this game.
You sat here talking about, okay.
It seems like the Bengals have started slow and finished strong in their games this year, which is the complete opposite that I would expect from a Bengals team.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know, I'm just picking from...
I'm just waiting for them to
the
collapse, and I think this is their week.
I think, too, I look back to that game against Atlanta, which basically was a track meet. I mean, they scored at the end of that game on the road to kind of to steal that win. I just don't think you can... I don't know. I just don't see them keeping up with the Steelers if it turns into that type of game. 'Cause, I mean, we've talked a few times this season about just the problems on defense for Atlanta. So it's going to be much more difficult to win a game like that. I think if you're Cincinnati, you want to grind this thing out.
Yeah, sure. All right.
That's AFC North football.
Yeah,
that's the motto. Grind it out.
50 degrees and rainy.
Like, you want to grab your papers?
No, I'm good. I got them in my emails.
Right.
So, all right, Sunday night game of the week by far.
those though.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
AFC Championship preview.
Yeah, Kansas City Chiefs. They are heading to New England to take on the Patriots. Patriots 3.5-point favorites. This is a Sunday night game. The total, wow, 59 points as it stands right now. And I think, let me see here, 72% is on the over. So that's people are expecting a high-scoring game. Speaking of the public, 56% on the Chiefs here. This is, again, I'm still not entirely sure who I'm picking here, so I will wait for you guys to go. Andre, why don't you start?
I'm going to go with the Patriots. So, who are the Patriots playing this week? The Chiefs.
The
Chiefs quarterback, Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is a quarterback with fewer than 20 games of experience.
Yep,
So I'm going to go back to the well.
Oh, man.
The Patriots, in the last 2 years, when they play quarterbacks with 20 games of experience or less, last 2.5 years, I guess 2 years and 5 games, since the start of 2016. When the Patriots go up against quarterbacks with 20 games of experience or fewer, 20 games or less, fewer than 20 games experience.
All right.
They have 6 touchdown passes. Those quarterbacks have 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions with an 0-9 record against the Patriots. Now, there's a lot of quarterbacks that the Patriots played in those 2.5 years that were not Pat Mahomes-esque.
I was going to say, why don't we...
However, here's what I'm going to say now. Both of these teams, they allow a lot of yards, right? Chiefs, they allow a ton of yards, 5.8 yards per carry. I expect Sony Michel to have a big game. Chiefs allow 6.5 yards per play. Patriots are going to get a lot. All of a sudden, we talk about the Patriots and the receiving weapons and how they didn't have any at the start of the season. Then they have Gronk, James White, Edelman, Gordon. It's a lot of weapons. They've scored 38 points in the last 2 games, each game. They're going to... Let's assume the Patriots put up 38 points again. Do I think a rookie quarterback is going to be able to match that against the Patriots, even though their defense stinks? I don't think so. I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. Because Belichick's good against rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I think that the second part of your statement there, that those rookie quarterbacks weren't Patrick Mahomes, is a huge.
There was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and they almost pulled that game out. So I'm going to err on the side of the Chiefs here. I'm going with the Chiefs. I just think, first of all, in terms of the eye test, the Patriots they still look. There's still problems defensively. Still look slow, and that is a nightmare. It's troubling when you're going up a Chiefs offense that plays at the speed at which they do, and then on offense, I still don't feel right about the Patriots offense. I still think they're a little out of sync. Obviously, they made strides last week, but that's against a Colts team that couldn't even field an entire roster.
Right.
I mean, that was embarrassing. I don't know. I just feel like the Chiefs are going to be able to do some things offensively. We've seen Andy Reid coach teams in the past have success against Bill Belichick coach teams. I think they'll be able to get creative. I mean, you look back to even I don't want to harp too much on the season opener last year, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you saw that the Chiefs playmakers made plays in that game. Kareem Hunt just completely went off. Patriots have a hard time defending running backs in the passing game this year. They've had a hard time defending number one wide receivers this year. Travis Kelce, they've done a pretty good job against tight ends for the most part, but the teams they have faced haven't really had good tight ends.
Eric Ebron just 105 yards last week.
Exactly. So before the Ebron game, they hadn't really faced a real good tight end. I guess Austin Seferian-Jenkins is probably the best, and he caught a touchdown. So the lasting image of that Colts game is Ebron going off a little bit against that defense. So I think Kelce has some success. I just think it's going to be awfully hard for the Patriots to keep up in this game because overall, just still problems on that defense.
I think they're not going to rely as much as in the past, though. I think Sony Michel runs the ball, eats the clock, keeps the ball away from the Chiefs, and that's how the Patriots control the game.
The Chiefs have problems defensively too, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they can build on their performance against Jacksonville. I mean, obviously the Patriots aren't going to make the mistakes that Jacksonville made, but I don't know. I don't think it's an unreasonable ask to have them step up defensively.
Golly, I don't know. This is so hard. Because I've got a list of notes here and things.
Who were you convinced? Whose argument?
Yeah, I know, right?
This is the first time since 2013 that an undefeated team has opened as an underdog this late in the season.
That's interesting. I mean, they are getting the points again.
5-0 is an underdog. It's pretty. It's rare.
I'll take the points. I'll take the points. I'll take the Chiefs.
That's the thing too. I'm getting points.
Yeah, I know.
I'm getting points.
You're getting more than the field goal too.
Sure.
Which is
let's party.
Big, but I just look at. I just want to, because we're in the the business of giving out information here and helping people with their picks. I'll run through some of the stuff I have here. New England. Again, going back to trends. The Patriots 11-2 against the spread when the total is greater than or equal to 49.5 over the last 3 seasons. So when it's a high-scoring game or it's expected to be a high-scoring game, they find ways to usually cover. Bill Belichick 17-3 against the spread against a team that he's lost to by 14 or more in the most previous meeting. They lost by 15 on opening night last year. The Patriots are 15-5 against the spread against a team with a winning record over the last 3 seasons. But one thing I did kind of notice, 3.5, the Patriots giving 3.5 felt like a weird number to me. Like, I feel like we haven't been there very often with this Patriots team. It's only happened 7 times since 2010. Patriots are only 2-4-1 against the spread, and their last 7 home games is a favorite of 3 to 4.5 points. So this is a weird spot. We're not used to seeing this for them. Kansas City, the defense is an issue. They gave up 502 yards last week, despite what they were able to do in terms of forcing turnovers. But like I said, they'll get some takeaways. They're +5 turnover differential. The Patriots only +1 right now. Kind of some weird puck luck, if you will. The Patriots, to your point, kind of will have some chances to run. All of that being said, I don't know. I trust Andy Reid enough to scheme up something that Belichick hasn't seen that makes it tough to game plan for. And again, the recent history is hard to ignore. They've played 3 times since 2004. The Chiefs have won 2 of them. They're averaging 453 yards per game in those 3 games. They're averaging 34 points per game. If they score,
those have been convincing Chiefs.
Yeah, if they score 34 points on Sunday night and they don't cover the number, then I'm like, all right, well, whatever. If they lose 41-34, I won't feel terrible about taking the Chiefs, because to put up 34 with that, a quarterback that young at Gillette on a Sunday night, you take your chances. But I think it's the biggest issue is the defense. But I think this is going to be such a shootout that maybe it's one of those ones where the Patriots win it late by a field goal.
Can we at least agree that usually when rookie quarterbacks come into the league and they have great success early on, let's talk about Dak Prescott, for instance, and then they get film on the guy and they figure it out. Pat Mahomes, first 3 games, 13 touchdowns, no picks. Last 2 games, just the touchdown, 2 picks. 60% completion percentage. Small sample size, I get it. But I trust Bill Belichick in game planning against a rookie quarterback who now there's a lot of film on. And he'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's nothing I've seen from Pat Mahomes that makes me think he's anywhere close to Dak Prescott.
I'm not saying he's Dak Prescott. I'm just saying he's an NFL. He's a young NFL quarterback.
Still in its infancy. Like, he's still a chance that he can go out and put up these huge numbers. Now,
He
if we're
probably
talking
will.
about this game in January, maybe I'll have a different.
Also,
stance on
I
it.
also think the Chiefs' success has more to do. I think Mahomes is obviously great. I think he's going to be great.
Yes.
I think his success, their success, has a lot to do with the system. Not saying he's a system quarterback, but they've built a perfect ecosystem
weapons,
for him. Yeah, which is a little bit different than whatever the other bums on that list.
Yeah, I know he's not those bums on that list. I still think he'll
No,
have
it's
a
not
great
just
game.
that he's not
I
that.
just don't think he'll keep up with.
No, it's not
the Patriots.
But like, I don't want
What
to
are they
argue.
gonna throw at him defensively to stop him?
Yeah, and
What are
just
the Chiefs going to throw at the pass?
I'm saying, like, you're not going to fluster
well,
him because
you're not
gonna-
arguing what the Chiefs are going to do with the Pats defensively. You're arguing what the Patriots defense is going to do against the Chiefs offense. That was your argument, and we're arguing your argument.
I just don't see what they can do. I mean,
So we're just
they're the
meeting-
worst sack percentage in the NFL. It's not a team that gets after
they
the
don't
quarterback.
get after the quarterback.
So, and the Chiefs are a team that typically doesn't allow you to get after the quarterback, and then when you do, he has the mobility to escape that, get the ball to guys in space. I'm having a hard time figuring out what New England's going to be able to come up with to be able to slow him.
They
Other
held
than, like,
Miami under 200 yards of total offense. Like they completely. I just think they're. It's going to be.
But Miami has
it's
a
not gonna
trash
be the,
offensive
Hold
line.
on. It's not. I mentioned this earlier. It's not going to be the Patriots defense shutting down the Chiefs' masterful game plan.
Well, that's
Sony Michel's going to be running the ball. They're going to keep the ball away
Then
from
why'd
the
you bring
Chiefs.
up the quarterback stat
What quarterback stat?
about the young quarterbacks against the Patriots?
I mean, because it's about to be 0-10.
Oh,
Just wants to get it on the record.
which again, I think is kind of what, at least I'm saying, like if the Patriots cover and the Chiefs scored 35 points, I'm not going to feel bad about it. It's like that, so fine, they'll be 0-10, but what if Mahomes throws for 4 touchdowns and they lose?
Yeah, I mean, it'll skew
Then
my
your stat is done.
stat.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll skew it. Next time I won't be able to use it.
All right.
Still break it out, though. Keep it in the whole
Mitchell Trubisky.
Because you'll say
against
the
the
one-
Patriots next week. I can bring it back out
You'll
next
say
week.
the one blemish was against Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
who is unlike the rest of them.
Which we've spent the last 5 minutes saying.
Yeah.
No, you guys are dumb.
Okay. Let's do locks and upsets. We'll start with locks.
Oh, this is one area when that is completely accurate.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bother? Just fade me on this.
Yeah, Ricky, what do you got for us in our your
I'm
locks?
gonna go to a huge spread here too. I'm gonna take the Vikings as 10.5-point favorites over the Cardinals.
It's the Vikings have had no issues with huge spreads at home this year. So
Well, I mean, I think that's an exception.
I agree. I'm probably on
I think that was kind of a wake-up call that just them stumbling against
They
Buffalo.
looked better last week too.
Where did the Eagles look bad? I don't know.
Yeah, you go on the road and beat the Eagles.
The
It's a
NFC
good
East
win.
is just
It's a
complete
tire
cluster right now. No, I think the Vikings defense looked much better though against Philly, and going up against the Cardinals offense that still really can't get out of its own way. I mean, I know that they're coming off a win against San Francisco, but San Francisco is to the point now where they're just flexing them out of games because they know they're not even going to be competitive. So I just can't see any way that the Cardinals do anything offensively against Minnesota. So I don't know.
I'm going to go with the Packers over the 49ers. Part of what Ricky just said.
Yeah.
CJ Beathard, 4 interceptions already in the last 2 games. He's going on the road at Lambeau Field. Green Bay, we all know how great Aaron Rodgers is. Only 1 pick this season. They have a good defense this year, man.
I do. I think
Great
that's.
defense.
I'm sick of hearing people talk junk about them. The defense got porked last week. They got put in some real bad situations.
Yeah, I mean, their kicker kept missing
Well,
some kicks, too.
not only did the kicker miss the kicks, they got a garbage call on that punt early on that gave the Lions the ball at the 1-yard line. They turned that into a touchdown. Rodgers got strip sacked. That turned into points. Like the defense is pretty good. Yeah.
They only allow 5.2 yards per play. That's, I think, the 4th best mark. Green Bay, 4th best yards per play differential as well. San Francisco, worst turnover differential. I could see the Packers just steamrolling the Niners at home on national television.
They need to get right. They got the Rams and the Patriots consecutive weeks coming up. So, speaking of the Packers defense, I liked what the Packers defense did a lot a couple weeks ago against the Buffalo Bills. They sacked Josh Allen 7 times, forced him to throw 2 picks. The defense just shut him out, 22-0. I'm expecting more of the same this week from the Houston Texans. I'm taking the Texans to cover an 8-point spread against the Bills at home. Texans stink, but the Bills are worse. I think the Texans pass rush has not been as good as people like to think it might be so far this season, but I think they find a way to get right at home against Buffalo. So. Andre, why don't you start with the upsets?
I'll go with the Dallas Cowboys over the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Cowboys are at home, which means Blake Bortles is on the road. I talked about this earlier, I think last week, about Blake Bortles on the road, and they came out with a touchdown and 4 picks against the Chiefs. Since the start of last year, Bortles 8 touchdowns, 13 picks, and below 55% completion percentage on the road. Not a good road quarterback. And Dak, he's more reliable at home. This year, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 2-0 record. I trust him more at home than on the road. I could see Dallas, running the ball well against this Jaguars team. Jaguars defense hasn't been as good this year as last year. Only 11 sacks. It's 19th. So I'll take the points with Dallas. They have a good rush defense too. I think they'll stop Jacksonville's running game and force Blake Bortles to throw the ball more and force some turnovers and mistakes and whatnot.
I'll take the Tennessee Titans as 3-point underdogs against the Baltimore Ravens. Mentioned their offense
boring game.
sputtering. Yeah, that is a pretty boring game. So that's me. That's why I'm picking it. Safe play. If I get it wrong, nobody will pay attention.
That's probably like a random wild card rematch from 15 years ago.
Played a lot.
Yeah.
Tennessee. With them. It's kind of trying to find some consistency, figure out their identity, what they are here. They had that big win over the Eagles and then choked last week against Buffalo. But they're pretty well as home. They've done well in the past as home underdogs. They typically play well at home. 8-1 straight up in the last 9 home games. 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 home games. Baltimore, meanwhile, has some struggles on the road. 5-12 straight up in their last 17 road games. Tennessee also plays well typically after a loss. 12-3 against the spread in games after a loss since the beginning of 2016. So plenty of trends pointing in their direction. Also just think this is kind of a coin flip when you get down to it, in which case I'll take the points and roll the dice. If you're going to pick an underdog, might as well go for one that's a coin flip situation.
All-time series between those two teams tied at 11.
Perfect.
2 of their last 5 games have ended
a tie.
13-10. There's a 13-12 mixed in there. It just speaks to
this could be an ugly, knockdown, drag out 16-13 type of game.
Yeah, not good.
In favor of the Titans, though. So pick them.
I'm taking the Miami Dolphins 3-point home underdogs against the Chicago Bears.
I was leaning towards that.
The Bears are good, man. The defense is awesome, but are we really in early October 2018 ready to just blindly make the Chicago Bears road favorites? I don't think so. Mitch Trubisky is still their quarterback. Last time I checked, this season alone, look at the passer rating difference. 52-point passer rating differential between home and away. That game against Tampa Bay certainly kind of swung that number, but hey, I'm taking it as a stat that I need. 74% of the bets are on Chicago right now. That's just, I don't know. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's also going to be hot and humid. It's going to be hot as hell. Imagine Miami going to make Chicago wear the navies, I would imagine. So it's a tough spot. One
gamesmanship.
I just want to give one away right here real quick. Keep your eye on Denver, by the way, this weekend at home against the Rams. This might be a letdown spot for the Rams. I was telling Ricky this earlier. Snow in the forecast. It's going to be 25 degrees in Denver on Sunday.
Are you serious?
25 degrees. Good luck with that offense.
Meanwhile, it's going to be 80 degrees in Boston tomorrow.
It's crazy. We're all screwed.
You're lying. It's
going to be like 81 degrees.
No, I'm talking about Denver.
Oh.
This is the part of our program where I look up Denver weather.
25 degrees and light snow.
It's going to be 55 on Saturday, 30 to 25 on Sunday.
Well, that's a big test for the Rams.
Yep. So that'll be fun. All right. Anything else you guys want to discuss? No, me neither. Okay, let's get out of here. I got to go eat lunch. This has been The Spread, NESN.com's Football Picks podcast. We'll be back again next week, God willing, to talk more about
one spread to the other. You know
what
I mean?
That's right.
Let's go get out one.
Goodbye.